Welcome everybody to this month's. Oh, Amy, go ahead.
Oh, never
You didn't
mind
mean to
me.
raise your hand. Welcome everybody to this month's AOT Learning Network web chat. My name is Brooke, and I am AOT Implementation Manager on our team. And we have a couple other members of Treatment Advocacy Center's implementation team on here. We'll do introductions in just a minute. But I just wanted to start with kind of the purpose of this chat for people who are new. So, we hold these collaborator-specific chats on a monthly basis, and we're actually going to announce in May that we'll be holding for some months we'll be holding two chats a month, and they are available for AOT champions, judges, monitors, peers, as well as case managers and clinicians. And this is the champions chat. So we define an AOT champion as anyone kind of working on the grassroots level, inside or outside of the system, to convince people in their community to come together to start a quality AOT program or make an existing program better. And we could talk about lots of stuff in this chat, but some ideas are just to kind of how to get reluctant or disinterested key leaders to the table, how to raise awareness about the impact of untreated SMI, and just an opportunity for everyone to share their own experiences, ask questions, forge new alliances, stuff like that. And so the more engagement we get from you all, the more beneficial the chats will be for everybody. And so if you are able to have your camera on during the chat, that would be amazing and good for community building, but no worries if not. And so you guys might have heard this when you joined, we are recording this and it will be posted to TAC's YouTube channel and shared with you over email to be used as a resource. And I think, trying to think if I'm forgetting anything. Oh, if you're not a member of the AOT Learning Network and you found yourself able to register for this chat through other means, maybe it was forwarded to you, I would definitely encourage you to join the network for more chats, webinars, news related to AOT, resource sharing, all that stuff. And I'll put the link to join in the chat. But let's go ahead and get started. I said who I was. I'm gonna start with introductions from our team, and then we'll go around and I'll ask you to introduce yourself as I see you on my screen. Um, so I'm gonna hand it off to Amy Lukes, our
Hello,
fearless
everyone.
leader.
Hello, everyone. My name is Amy Lukes. For those of you who don't know me, I am a social worker by training. My experience is in community mental health, working with people with severe mental illness, so the population AOT serves. And when I have worked within a system that has uh, we called it outpatient commitment, but it's now called AOT. So I have worked as a case manager under a court order. So that's my experience. Thanks, Brooke.
Sarah?
Hi, everybody. I'm Sarah. I am an attorney on the AOT implementation team, and my experience is I have had several years' experience with oversight of an AOT program in Hamilton County, Ohio. So it is so good to see everyone. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Sarah. Shanti?
Everyone. My name's Shanti. I'm the research advisor on the team. So, any questions about what we know about AOT, what we don't know, questions about the research, questions about data collection, I'm more than happy to help with answering.
Thank you, Shanti. And I think our last team member, I don't think Jared is on here, right, Amy? Okay. Amazing. Well, I am going to go around and ask everyone to introduce themselves. And if you all don't mind just sharing where you're located, and your connection to AOT, why you joined. And no wrong answers there. So first on my screen is Amy Cherry. Sorry, Amy, I called on you right when you were having a sip of your beverage.
That's okay. So, yes, I'm Amy Cherry. I work at Shiawassee Health and Wellness in Shiawassee County, and I monitor all the
State.
treatment orders.
What state?
Michigan, sorry. And I monitor all the treatment orders in our county.
Just
Amazing.
curious, how
Welcome.
many? How many are there?
Um, I'd say probably like 80.
Thank you for being here.
Janet Dyer.
Hi, I'm Janet Dyer, and I live in Warren, Ohio, kind of northeast Ohio. And I am now got elected as kind of the board chairman of a new 501c3 to try to do transitional housing and AOT. We have a person with the mental health board who is an AOT person, but we have a problem with the judges, police, and so we're trying to coordinate services with them. It's brand new, and how we get judges to get on board, that's where
Do
we're,
this.
yeah.
You got Jess?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm really tired anyway. So,
Well, welcome, Janet, and you are in the right place.
Thank you.
Beth Wallace.
Hello, everybody. I'm Beth Wallace. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I have a 33-year-old son, and that's what brings me into this world. And now I am an advocate on the helpline over at TAC, and I'm also a policy director for, I have to get this right, National Shattering Silence Coalition for North Carolina.
That's fantastic. Glad to have you, Beth.
Thank you.
Ruth. Good to see you, Ruth.
see if my, okay, I've got sound. I've got a microphone so I can turn it on and off. All right. Anyway, I live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Allegheny County. Pennsylvania has one of those things where the state now permits AOT, but no county has opted in yet. I got drawn into this when my oldest son developed schizophrenia, and we were not able to get help before he, under a delusional idea that my mother was evil, he killed her while she was eating breakfast. It was a big scandal in the news. And the judge, when he was finally sentenced, the judge made a statement that given the charges and what she knew of the case, she could give him as little as 5 years. But then she said, but I'm not going to, because there's no program for keeping you on meds. So I'm going to sentence you in the standard range and 10 to 20 years. People with severe mental illness never get out at the beginning, at the early side. They always max out. They've not, I mean, he's autistic as well as schizophrenic, and he's just kind of fading away. And so not only to help others, but also with the idea that if I could get my county to open an AOT program, and we have all the services and resources. Allegheny County is rich in those resources. If they would do that, then we could appeal to the governor to get his sentence commuted because the facts had changed. He's now served 12 years. He has 8 more to go. And it's really difficult. So I am physically disabled. I'm very tired a lot of the time. It's very difficult for me to get out there, and there's no one else in my county working on this. So I'm kind of a lonely, frequently tired Don Quixote, seeing if I could make some noise. So.
Thank you, Ruth. And thank you for everything that you do to push for AOT in Pittsburgh.
I just got it. I got an op-ed in the local paper commenting on the Harrisburg firebombing, where everybody's talking about it as though it's political. Then it's come out that It probably really isn't. He's one of ours. And so trying to get that publicized and see if I sent it to all of the judges, all of the police chiefs that I had email addresses for, blah, 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 trying to see if anybody we'll see.
Well, I got a Google alert that had your op-ed, and it's going to be included in the May AOT Learning Network bulletin.
Great. That's wonderful.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, Laura.
Hi, I'm Laura Rossi. I'm a social worker and I work in New Orleans, Louisiana with the Orleans Parish AOT program. And Ruth,
Welcome, Laura.
bless your heart. Yeah. I hope more people learn about the program through your efforts and you get more support.
Thank you, Laura. Lainey.
Hi, I am Lainey. I am a social worker as well. I am the manager of the AOT program in Chicago, Illinois. I'm working with Cook County court system.
Welcome, Lainey. I may be reaching out to you after this to get your program added to our AOT map list. That's great to hear. All right, Leslie Carpenter.
Sorry, my mouse was being fussy. Leslie Carpenter, I'm an AOT champion from Iowa City, Iowa. Got the first AOT program started here. I see Carrie's on the call as well, who's our AOT program director. I'm also somebody who has been an AOT team stalker, groupie, and now I work at TAC as a legislative advocacy manager. Nice to see you all.
Thank you, Leslie. Next on my screen is Todd. Good to see you, Todd.
Hey everybody, I'm a LCSW from Indiana. I work in Indiana, but I actually live in Michigan, Amy. So right near the border, and connected to TAC for the last several years, getting some technical assistance, and just really enjoy being a part of this community. It's been a really nice infrastructure to help push our system to provide better services to our participants and families. So thanks.
Thanks, Todd. Jessica.
Hi, my name's Jessica. I work for Prime Care Medical and Dauphin County Prison. So I do case management and reentry primarily for the substance use disorder patients, but also starting to move more into the mental health area as well.
Welcome, Jessica. Is Dauphin County, is that Pennsylvania? Awesome. Carrie Davis.
Hi, I'm the program manager for ACT and AOT in Dallas, Texas, and we've recently received the SAMHSA grant to begin AOT.
Welcome, Carrie. Cindy Schultz.
Hello, I'm Cindy. I'm from South Bend, Indiana. I work as a social worker in at Oaklawn, which is a CCBHC. And I was at the conference in Annapolis last month. It was very good to connect with so many people. I was happy to see so many Indiana folks that came to the conference as well. So I'm interested in developing an AOT both in St. Joe County and Elkhart County, which are the two counties that our center serves.
That's great. And glad to hear the symposium was helpful. All right. Ariel Small.
Hi, my name is Ariel Small. I'm a statewide behavioral health program manager with the Administrative Office of the Courts. And we are working with a couple of pilot programs. And so we got one judicial district going. We're about to launch another, and we just got our first petition. So we have our first hearing on Tuesday.
That's really exciting. Congratulations. Sorry, I lost where I was on my screen. Okay,
Kate
Kate. Thanks, Amy. Kate.
Hi, Kate Dahlstrom. I'm in Traverse City, Michigan, which is the northern part of the Lower Peninsula. And I'm the board president of NAMI, Grand Traverse, National Alliance on Mental Illness. And NAMI and some others of us have been working for the last 3 or 4 years to get an AOT program up here. And with the help of Judge Milton Mack, who has been a wonderful AOT champion, it's coming along. It's really doing very well. Michigan has some great AOT rules and in the mental health code. So we've been fortunate. The unfortunate part is that many of the probate judges don't quite understand what it's supposed to do, right? So, but anyway, that's our story, and things are moving along in the right direction.
That's great to hear, Kate. Devin. Good to see you, Devin.
Hi, Devin Roos. I'm the program evaluator for the Terrebonne AOT, and that's Terrebonne Parish in Houma, Louisiana.
Thank you, Devin. And Stacy.
Hi, everyone. My name is Stacy Boone. I am in New Mexico with the Administrative Office of the Courts. I'm the Senior Statewide Behavioral Health Manager, so I get to oversee AOT implementation. We are kind of rolling out statewide, but from the judicial side of things. So we are judiciary-led AOT implementation across the state. So I get to work with Ariel. And yeah, like she mentioned, we have our first petition in one of our pilot sites as of earlier this week. So we are finally kind of up and running. Somebody else mentioned on this call that AOT is on the books, but hasn't really been established anywhere. Similar in New Mexico, we've had AOT on the books since 2016. And since that time, we've only had 2 operating programs in our state. And now we can say that there are 3 operating programs, soon to be 4. So we're getting there, but thrilled to talk with you all and see some familiar faces and meet some new folks too.
That's awesome. Thank you, Stacy. Debbie.
Well, hang on. Oh, there you are. I guess I am unmuted. So I'm in the car. I plan to be somewhere else. I didn't think I was going to be able to join. And then I thought, well, maybe I can get on the phone. So sorry for the delay. So I assume we're doing introductions.
Yes.
So I live in Bartholomew County, and we have an AOT that began this month, but there have been no participants. So it is up and running, but I don't think people really understand what it is or how to use it yet. And so I think that's what's happening, because there are plenty of people I think that could probably benefit from it. I think we're having some difficulty with identifying anosognosia. The system of care here is very voluntary based. So we have a pretty robust crisis care system. We have CCBHC now, and it's been rolling out since January. And there have been a lot of improvements in the system of care, but for voluntary folks. So the folks that are not self-navigating, I think that the interest in doing motivational interviewing as the primary tool to engage them is kind of the state. I'm really excited because there's a provider educational forum planned for October, and we're hoping to have somebody who has agreed. I'm not going to announce it right now because I still have to confirm the date, but who has agreed who can really speak to this, and I'm very excited about that. So it's slow and steady wins the race. I get very impatient sometimes, but we've had a lot of progress.
That's great. Glad to hear it.
I'm gonna.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Okay.
Jessica?
I think
Jessica and I.
Jessica already went. I think
Oh, sorry.
no,
Trying
no,
to
no,
move
you're
it
good.
along.
You're good. Lynn Rohde.
Hi, yes, I'm a social worker from South Bend, Indiana. And it's like Cindy said, an area that's looking to implement AOT. I work in inpatient psych, and I'm here because I never want to say no to Cindy.
That's a great reason.
I know.
All right. Jane Garland.
Hi, I am from Albuquerque, and I am the VP of NAMI Albuquerque, so I'm excited to see New Mexico here. I have a son who lives in upstate New York who has in the past been in AOT and literally today just got reordered into AOT. And so I am a big believer and I try to advocate for it as possible as a family member with experience of on and off AOT. Also,
Thank
my
you, Jane.
son talks constantly about moving to the Detroit area because we have a lot of family there. So I'm also excited to see there are people from Michigan in here.
That's great. Let's see. Carrie Crane. Good to see you, Carrie.
Yeah, Carrie Crane from the Johnson County, Iowa AOT program in Iowa City, Iowa.
Thanks, Carrie. Dawn Marie. Well, we can come back to you, Dawn. Diane.
Hi, I'm Diane Weiner. I am the AOT administrator for Washington State in Olympia, Washington.
Welcome, Diane. Yolanda.
Yolanda. I work for the Second Judicial District Court here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, as an admin assistant, and I'm just trying to familiarize myself with AOT and with TAC.
Amazing. New Mexico really showing out. Amanda O'Neill.
Hey, I'm Amanda O'Neill. I'm the Associate General Counsel at a hospital here in Kansas City, Missouri. And we are like other people, we have the laws in place for outpatient civil commitment, but they don't really do justice. So we actually have filed our own legislation to change it and make it so we can create a robust AOT program over here.
The good news is you have a very invested judge.
Yes, we
in
do. And we
Judge
I actually work
Stiles.
very closely with Judge Stiles. So it's Judge Stiles, me, and one of our behavioral health individuals. So he came back super fired up from your conference.
Excellent.
All right. Janet Hayes.
Everyone, sorry I'm off camera. I'm driving. So, Louisiana AOT and New Orleans Parish Program Director, and really great to see my colleague Laura Rossi here and Devin in Homa. I'm so happy to see you guys joining this call. And don't feel bad, those of you that have had lots of 2008, and nobody even talked about using it until 2017, until our judge in Orleans decided to start a court.
You're cutting in and out a little bit, Janet. Oh, did she disappear?
Uh,
Oh
You
no.
can you can introduce me, Brooke.
Well, Janet is a longtime friend of TAC and coordinates a AOT program in Orleans Parish, and does a lot of good work there. And I believe what she was saying is they were the first program, I think, in the state. Uh, and I'm probably not going to do you justice, Janet, but welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. Last but not least, I believe, is Christine.
I am Christine. I'm from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and I believe today have sort of gotten into the on the board of my behavioral health and developmental services. So I hope to make an influence there.
Awesome. Welcome, Christine. That's great news.
We'd love to see some movement in Pennsylvania. We'd love it.
Yes, very much.
Well, did I miss anybody? All right. Well, like I mentioned at the beginning, these chats are really for you all to kind of take the opportunity to, connect and see, and ask questions, do kind of some group brainstorming about any barriers you might be facing. So we do have something, or TAC has something we wanted to kind of share that's going on, but at first I wanted to open up the floor and just kind of, if anyone has a particular issue, I think that a couple, one person mentioned anosognosia, um, issue barriers getting judges or law enforcement to the table as collaborators. So, yeah, Janet, go ahead.
Okay, we have lost our hospital. We had two hospitals. One of them was our mental health wing. There were 38 beds. They shut down in a bankruptcy thing. So we're really like in crisis mode in the county. And we are trying, because we're going to try to do housing, we're trying to partner with somebody that we can get up and running quickly, but we don't have the judge support. We have a sheriff who's now, like, he got a grant to try to detox and deal with mental health in the county jail. Both of my children have spent time in there, and it was atrocious. But now we have change happening, and our mental health board has only really granted things for drugs and Narcan. They have not funded anything in mental health, and they told me that they will not, or they can't, however that is. I do have a meeting set up next week with them. But if in this situation, when you've got people in crisis, like, the direction we need to go is where? As because the county is so short on beds, and the hospital in the nearest town, they're in the ER for 4 days. All the mental health, there's no beds. We have nothing. So I don't know how to kind of move in. I know it's not an overnight, but how do we get up and running? Should be our first step, like in this 6-week period, maybe, that we should do?
Any of our experienced champions have a suggestion?
Well, I was wondering if Treatment Advocacy Center maybe doesn't have a list of the judges who have been instrumental in developing AOT programs in their state. Someone else mentioned a judge, and our judge, Milton Mack, was absolutely instrumental. And I think if we had some testimony or sharing from these judges on how important it is that you could take to judges in your area? Because when judges speak, people tend to listen. And so that would be my recommendation, is to try to get some important
We have been
judges.
told that the probate judge will absolutely refuse to be a part of anything. And he's on his way out because he's aging out in January. And then the advice was to go to the magistrates, because they are going to want to be elected. But the problem is, I have dealt with those magistrates, and they are they are like so anti mental illness.
What about
My
your
daughter
criminal
ended up
court?
homeless because of them.
What about your criminal court judges?
We might
I
find
think
one. We think we have one that we might be able to kind of sway. I wrote a letter to one because there was an article in the paper. He said, we're not treating mental illness, and that was a real surprise. So I'm writing him a letter thanking him.
Well, I would try to get some testimony from judges from these other states who have been the champions. And do you guys have a mental health court there?
Oh,
in
no.
your
No,
No, and
that's
we
what
don't
we're
either,
trying to
but
get going.
AOT can take the place pretty much in a way of a mental health court if you know if you don't have one. So I mean that's my suggestion, but so he sounds like maybe your best hope to get things going.
Where are you, Janet?
I'm
I
in
forgot.
Warren, Ohio, Trumbull County.
Oh, all right.
Is there a like PowerPoint, like a short PowerPoint that's already created by maybe TAC that we can use that has stats, or do we have to individually kind of create that when we are out trying to sell it to a judge, so to speak?
Well,
I have one from Judge Mack that I could share with you that he made a presentation up here to our sheriff's department, our city police, our probate judge, the hospital, and so on. So I could do that.
Okay.
Share that
Thank
with you.
all. Thank you.
And Janet, I know that Judge Rusu next door to you is very interested, as is the Mahoning County board, also very interested in getting AOT up and running in Trumbull.
I spoke with them at the conference in Annapolis.
Oh, fabulous. There's also, there are, I don't know, there's probably 30 judges in Ohio that would be happy to make a phone call. The other thing I would recommend is are the magistrates going to run for in 2025? Well, whoever you'll find out who's running in August, right? That's when the primary is, I believe. Make sure to make this an issue, a campaign issue.
Okay. We're about to have some real big hard press coming in Ohio mid-May. So I'll share that with some of you privately, what's coming.
And Janet, we don't have a PowerPoint necessarily to share, but I do have some like infographics with stats that I can send your way.
There's
Shanti might have already done it.
Oh, did it already, Tom?
There, yep, there we go.
Oh, thank you so much.
Leslie, do you have a PowerPoint? I'm sorry, I should have done this via chat, but do you have a PowerPoint you'd be willing to share?
Yes, you tell me, do I need to share one of my private ones that I used in Iowa, or do you want me to share one that I've made for TAP?
I don't care. Whatever seems to fit the bill the best.
Okay. Janet, I know you and I have connected, but shoot me in chat your email and I will send you a PowerPoint.
Oh, you're awesome. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, you bet. The other suggestions I have for you is if your sheriff is already working on trying to get something pulled together, ask him to consider pulling together a community collaboration team to work together and invite that judge and invite any other key players that they from your public defender's office, from your county attorney office, from your various mental health providers in the area. If you can get your sheriff to be the leader in lieu of the judge, sometimes that's a way to kind of get things kickstarted.
Okay. Oh, that's wonderful advice. Okay. I'm going to put my email in here because other people were going to send things. So, okay. Thank you all. I appreciate it.
Hey, Janet, and this is the other Janet in Louisiana, and I agree with Leslie on maybe doing an event to educate the community and stakeholders, sheriff, law enforcement, doctors, social workers, outpatient, inpatient providers, judges, anybody you can think of who's had this population of the problem, and maybe invite a judge to help with a presentation. That's how we got started in Louisiana, in New Orleans. We invited Judge Oscar Kazin from San Antonio, Texas, to do a presentation for us. And then from there, we started, keeping a list of questions, concerns, that sort of thing. And then we had TAC actually come in and do a customized seminar for us. I don't know if they have the bandwidth to do that now, but that's how that. And there was a lot of interest at the time in from other county or other parishes around the state, counties where you are.
Perfect.
To
Thank
get
you.
AOT started. Yeah, to start this. So
that's wonderful. Thank you. I appreciate. I've got all the notes. So whatever anybody sends me, I appreciate. Thank you.
And one other suggestion, Janet, I don't think it doesn't sound like you're necessarily to this point yet, because the first thing would be convening all of those right people.
Right.
But one thing we wanted to share with you all is TAC has been working on developing an AOT Speakers Bureau. And it's basically made up of a group of AOT graduates from different places across the country willing to share about their experiences and speak to the impact AOT has had on their lives. They're people who have seen firsthand the difference person-centered care and being under a civil commitment can have, the impact it can have on their life, and the challenges, the pros, the cons, everything in between. And they have agreed to share that story. And so we are more than happy to connect you all with graduates if you would like to have them speak. At this point, it would be, I think, only virtually, but it depends on where you're located. And the only the only caveat, well, it's not really a caveat, but we would like to have them compensated for their time. So it would be $100 for the graduate to speak to a group of collaborators at a meeting, things like that. And it's just a way for those graduates to do advocacy work, and also a way to kind of show, especially stakeholders in your community that aren't really getting it, hearing from a person that has been through the program can be really powerful. So if that's something anyone on the call is interested in, I will put my email in the chat, and I am happy to coordinate that. Go ahead, Ruth.
Never quite sure if my sound, there we go, my sound is working. Okay. I'm always just sort of casting about for anything I can do that's, within what I have energy for. And I'm just thinking as I listen to everybody that I might send out a letter to the judges. I'm able to get email addresses for some of them, mailing addresses for the ones downtown for sure. And I would like to write a letter to the judges, especially the probate judges, but including anyone in the Court of Common Pleas downtown, saying, are you interested in doing more with this? A presentation, talk to me about it, stepping forward, being involved. And is there anyone here that feels that they understand how such a letter ought to be written? Because there are a number of different approaches I could take, and I'm not familiar with how judges think, how courtrooms work, how court administration works, anything like that. And I might put my foot in it in some way. Anybody work with judges, work in court administration?
I'll share that I don't think judges are really any different than any other human being. Speaking to them, and when I've had to try to get help for some people in various states, when they've had a loved one stuck in a jail, for instance, waiting for competency restoration, I have gone ahead and taken the plunge of reaching out directly to a judge who I happen to know in that state. And believe it or not, the judges are the ones that are able to kind of follow through and come up with the help more quickly than sometimes even reaching out to anybody else. So in my mind, just be direct and make an ask. Share the information you think is appropriate and make an ask of them, whatever it is that you're wanting.
If you were me, would you go ahead and tell the sob story, or just keep it more general about helping the community?
I would share a brief sob story and then the general need, broaden it out.
Okay. Yep. All right.
And I also, Ruth, I saw your note in the chat. I think creating a communications loop for the Pennsylvania folks makes a lot of sense. So I think there was one or two people on the call. Ruth put her email in the chat so that can happen. That would be great.
Okay. Thank you.
Other items anybody wants some expertise on?
Mine isn't expertise, actually, Brooke. I'm just wondering, would it be possible if we could, oh, I got my face and my hand up on the camera. Sorry. Could we maybe share everyone's email from this group? It sounds like there's some connections that could be made and might be helpful.
Yeah, I think what I will do is I'll follow up with you all and just to make sure if there's anyone who isn't comfortable with sharing their email, they can let me know before I do a mass share. But yeah, that sounds all right to me.
Thank you.
But I will not share everyone's email without their permission, just so y'all know.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brooke.
Can I just make a sort of a comment / question?
Of course.
I know that every state's AOT program is slightly different and the requirements are different. And I always felt really lucky that my son was in New York when he needed it because they have a really good AOT program. They did not require incarceration, just multiple hospitalizations. And I think that's really important. A lot of the states, and I think maybe New Mexico, maybe somebody can tell me, one of the gals from New Mexico can tell me, but it looked like maybe they had to be involved in the legal system somehow to qualify here. And I think that's a real shame because why do we have to wait until they're involved with the legal system? And anosognosia is the main purpose that our loved ones need ordered treatment because they're not going to do it for themselves. And when they're not in treatment is when they start getting into trouble. But I also wanted to say that in New York, I first of all, to get my son an AOT was not easy. He had like 10 hospitalizations within a couple years. And it took me fighting and fighting and begging and calling everybody I could. So even with a good program, it's still hard to get your loved one into AOT. And then recently, his caseworker, who I am so grateful for, the most wonderful woman in my world. She told me that there is pushback to AOT, and I know that often comes from groups like NAMI, which breaks my heart because we're worried about the individual's rights. And so even, you know, it's like this slippery slope, right? I know that my son is so much better and he's not in trouble and he's living somewhere rather than on the streets. I can see all of the benefits from AOT. So I want to know, how do we address the folks who are saying, well, this is a violation of a human's rights to order them to take medication? And I would like a better talking points on how to address that.
Jane, oh, sorry. I didn't know if Stacy wanted to take this, just one part of your question. No, in New Mexico, it does not require incarceration. Hospitalizations at least twice in the last 4 years.
And Michigan doesn't require that, and they don't even require hospitalizations. Just need, and anyone can fill out an AOT petition, anyone. And so it often will be families, it will be community mental health, it could be law enforcement, it could be the emergency department, right? Or it could be the inpatient psych hospital when they realize that they're going to be releasing someone who is not going to follow up on their treatment. So anyone can file a petition, and then of course there's a hearing, and the individual is represented at the hearing with the probate judge, and usually the community mental health person. There has to be a psychiatrist to testify. And if you want inpatient care as part of the AOT, then you need a psychiatrist and an MD or a psychologist. So I mean, we have really an excellent AOT program, and it is used quite a bit. And our NAMI actually helps people. We have a NAMI navigator, helps families complete the AOT petition, explains it to them, helps them complete it, helps them find and complete it. And I think NAMI National has even moved their opinion on the AOT program. I think the main opponents might be ACLU, and I love ACLU otherwise, but they don't I think the argument is that if they don't get treatment, they will end up in jail or prison, and where would you rather have them, right? So, I mean, that's how I position it. And our youngest son, who is 37, has had several AOT orders for him. And it's really tough, though, because he won't take medication, and even many hospitals won't force medication on the individuals. So that part of it gets to be really tough.
Thank you.
So I was going to say something important and now it just flew out of my head. Sorry. Carry on.
I'm curious also, like, what if my son is on an AOT in one state? Do you think there would ever be any possibility of transferring that AOT to another state?
No.
Not going to happen.
No,
That's the fear
because
I have.
they are state statutes, and meeting criteria in one state does not mean that you meet criteria in another.
Yeah.
And I did think of another thing is you mentioned the civil rights violation of AOT. We have some great footage of people of AOT graduates talking about that, about how AOT wasn't impinging on their rights. It's being allowed to remain psychotic and unable to manage their lives. That was much more, took away their rights much more than AOT ever did.
Yes. Unfortunately, my son, although he does much better, does not become well on medication. And so he graduated once from AOT because he did so well, and then he fell down, the tubes again. And so it took him now 3 years to get him back on AOT. So that's the frustration for me, is not everybody should graduate. I don't think, and these our loved ones are smart people. They know exactly what to say when they go to the courthouse. Oh, yes, I'll take my medication, and yes, I will do this and I will do that. But, they don't mean it necessarily. So that's a little tricky part about the graduation process from AOT.
I think also sometimes, Jane, one thing that we hear is that sometimes disability rights groups and people who are kind of anti-AOT don't really fully understand what AOT is. And perhaps they think it's more restrictive than it actually is. People are living safely in the community with some monitoring. There's no forced medication, nothing like that. And I think that sometimes those misconceptions really take the lead, and then people don't necessarily listen. I think Leslie, if you don't mind, I feel like you have quite a bit of experience with kind of rebuking the common arguments to that point.
Yeah, happy to comment on that. I completely agree. I think there's nothing more carceral than being stuck in a prison cell, a grave, or psychosis. And for me, that just kind of says it. And when talking with people who are opposed, what I like to do is ask him, okay, what is your solution for somebody who is so sick that they can't see how to agree to treatment? What do you do? Right? They have no answer to that, and leaving them with no answer is important. And I wouldn't waste a huge amount of time worrying about that. In your circumstance, you were talking about your son wanting to move near relatives in Detroit. I believe that there are AOT programs in Detroit. And what I would be thinking about doing, even though the order can't transfer from one state to another, I would be trying to get a hold of whoever's running the program in the county where your son would want to move and talk with them about what would be the requirements. How is your program running? Pick their brain about how it's going and how they might be able to assist with coordinating a transfer if that's a sincere thing that your son is wanting to do. Because often you'll find people that do this work that are willing to figure out a way to make things work, find a solution creatively, as opposed to not. So if that's something that's really a strong interest, I would be reaching out with the specific people working in that program.
It's a good idea. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. And this is Janet in Louisiana. And I don't, so we were lucky because in Louisiana, there's an agency, the Mental Health Advocacy Service, who are attorneys that represent respondents under commitment. So whether it be inpatient or outpatient commitment, they're always assigned an attorney from this organization. And the executive director at the time, when we did our presentation with Oscar Kazin, he was the first, to stand up and say, there's nothing wrong with the AOT law. It's a great law, and we need to start using it because it keeps people in the community, and that's what we want. And so I think there is, for these folks that are anti-carceral and that sort of thing, it's like, where do you think these people are? They're in a they're in a jail, so they are. I mean, it's because they're not in AOT that they're being confined, right, or institutionalized elsewhere. AOT keeps people in the community, and that's what we want. And so, anyway, that might be an angle that you can use. And if your son ever ends up in Louisiana, call me, and I'll get him under AOT here.
Thank you, Janet. Well, time has kind of flown. We're almost to the hour. I want to make sure that um, everyone who wants to speak to the group gets a chance. So
I just want to
speak
say,
now.
Brooke, I just want to say kudos to the mom power in the room and the I commented to Amy privately like y'all are fierce. And as a provider, a representative from a provider agency, I encourage you to also connect with providers in your community just on a regular basis. Find somebody that is a champion from the provider community as well and just create a relationship. Get together for coffee once a month or whatever. But thank you for what you're doing to help move systems in your locale, and it's inspiring to be a part of this meeting today. So thanks.
Yeah, this is Janet again. I want to second that, and kudos to PAC also. I think your collaborative approach is what's really moving the ball forward. And so thank you for not pretending to be perfect and involving voices of others and thoughts, experiences of others to, make a better system.
I can't think of a better
Others?
way to end the meeting. But seriously, if you have something you want to say, we're not going to end until everything is shared. Everything that you want to share is shared.
So quick question, how often are you planning to have these little meetups with the AOT people?
So the Normally, the chats are happening on a rotating base, happening once a month on a rotating basis. And because we have all those groups, we have peers, clinicians,
Right.
champions. They're not happening incredibly often, but now let me just pull up the schedule so I don't tell you the wrong thing, Kate. We are able to sometimes host 2 web chats a month, which allows for more frequency for each specific group. So, sorry, this would have been a good thing to have in front of me already, but like Janet said, we're not all perfect.
No, and you can let
Um,
us know after
oh,
this.
sorry, I have it. Okay,
Okay.
so our next AOT Champions chat will be in July. It'll be July 24th if you want to mark your calendars. And you all will get the link in the same capacity that you got it this time. It's on our website. It'll be in the AOT Learning Network bulletin. But yeah, would definitely love to see you all again in July if you're available, and we can do some follow-ups on some of the conversations we've had today.
Thanks.
And one more thing, guys, PAC, you'll be happy to hear that I the Assistant Secretary of Office of Behavioral Health yesterday saying, let's talk about AOTs. So for those who don't know me, I kind of do things kind of, I usually will start the work and then build a system later. And we go, so we started AOT work. So now we're starting to create a system around the AOT core. So, it's a much harder way to do things, so I don't advise it, but
You're cutting in and out a little bit, Janet, but congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
Alrighty. Well, everybody have a lovely rest of your day, and thank you so much for joining us. And I will
Thank
be
you.
emailing about sharing your emails.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.